Hey everyone, this is EcoChem1301, a YouTube channel of economics and chemistry. Today there is a revision of chapter number 1, chemical reactions and equations. And without wasting time, let's go ahead. If you have not subscribed this channel, please subscribe, like the video, and you can give an appropriate comment. So chapter number 1 is all about what? Chemical reactions and equations, correct? So ये चैप्टर को समझने के लिए, याद रखने के लिए ये बहुत काम का है कि हमको पता होना चाहिए a very old concept of chemical change, that when chemical change takes place what all happens. So जब भी कोई chemical change होता है तो पहला चीज होता है there is a change in what? Temperature. And when I talk about change in temperature, whether the temperature increases or decreases. If during a chemical change, if temperature is increasing, then it is known as exothermic reaction, where the heat is being released. So जब as a result of chemical reaction heat release होता है, so जो system होता है उसका temperature क्या होता है? बढ़ता है, and that's why it is known as exothermic reaction. The heat is being released. You will be asked to write the a particular reaction where the heat is being released. So very simple reaction is what? When you add water to quicklime, it converts into what? Slate lime. And this reaction is an example of what? Exothermic reaction, where the heat is being released. Now the another example, another type, when we talk about the change in temperature is what? Endothermic reaction, where the temperature of a system that falls down, it decreases because heat is being absorbed by a reactant. So such reactions are known as what? Endothermic reaction, when the heat is absorbed. Now in your textbook, very nice example is given that barium hydroxide, when it is treated with ammonium chloride, the reaction is an endothermic reaction. There are many examples which come under endothermic reactions, and these are what? All kinds of decomposition reactions, whether it is what? Thermal decomposition, whether it is electrolytic decomposition, or whether it is what? Photolytic decomposition. So पहला ही हमको याद रखना पड़ेगा कि पहले जब भी chemical change होता है तो there are few observations which helps us to determine a chemical change. उसमें पहला है क्या? There is a change in temperature. So जब change in temperature की बात आती है तो endothermic exothermic reaction का type हो गया. Now the second one, there is a change in the color of the substance, or there is an evolution of what? Gas. When we talk about these particular observation, this particular chain, then there are so many reactions. If I take one by one, the first one is heating ferrous sulfate crystal strongly in a test tube. So what basically happens, ferrous sulfate is a salt which has water of crystallization FeSO4.7H2O. So if I include the concept of second chapter, water of crystallization, तो ज़्यादातर salts के अंदर जो पानी होता है, which is known as water of crystallization, is responsible for its color. So when we heat these particular crystals, first what happens? Crystallization जो होता है, water of crystallization, वो निकल जाता है, and that's why the salt decolorizes. So पहले green to white होगा, but when we keep heating as a result of what? Thermal decomposition, it converts into its oxide along with the evolution of two gases. And how will you confirm, detect, or conclude the evolution of sulfur oxides, dioxide and trioxide? So they give suffocating smell of burning sulfur. So two different observations are here. One is what? Green color salt जो होता है वो reddish brown iron 3 ऑक्साइड में कन्वर्ट होता है फेरिक ऑक्साइड में along with what? Evolution of gases. ये हुआ one of the reaction where there is a change in color as well as evolution of gas. The second one is the second example of thermal decomposition reaction, that is hitting lead and nitrate crystals. So जब भी nitrate salts को गर्म करते हैं तो ज़्यादातर किसका प्रोबेबिलिटी हो जाता है? नाइट्रोजन डाइऑक्साइड इज वन ऑफ द प्रोडक्ट विच इज गैस इन द फॉर्म ऑफ रेडिश ब्राउन कलर. So reddish brown gas is evolved during a chemical reaction when lead and nitrate is being heated. Then what is the primary product? Lead oxide. It's a yellow color powder of lead. So lead and nitrate, lead oxide में convert होता है along with evolution of two gases NO2, NO2. How will you confirm the presence of O2? When you bring a burning splinter or candle, then it burns with a higher rate. It blows. Oh, that is the confirmation of what? Evolution of dioxygen gas. The third one, where there is a evolution of gas, and it is what? Heating calcium carbonate. This is the third example of the uh, thermal decomposition reaction, that when calcium carbonate, limestone chalk जो होता है ब्लैक बोर्ड पर लिखने वाला, वो कैल्शियम कार्बोनेट से बना होता है. तो कैल्शियम कार्बोनेट जब गर्म करते हैं तो किस में कन्वर्ट होता है? कैल्शियम ऑक्साइड में, अलॉन्ग विथ इवोल्यूशन ऑफ कार्बन डाइऑक्साइड. कार्बन डाइऑक्साइड इट टर्न्स लाइम वाटर मिल्की. सो देखो यहाँ पर क्वेश्चंस कैसे कैसे निकलते हैं. ये तीनों रिएक्शन, वेदर इट इज फेरस सल्फेट रिएक्शन, लेड नाइट्रेट रिएक्शन और कैल्शियम कार्बोनेट रिएक्शन, तीनों रिएक्शन एक चीज कॉमन है. जो भी गैसेस निकल रहे हैं, they are having a particular identification test, whether in the form of a chemical reaction, whether in the form of evolution, or sorry, color or the smell. Now let's go ahead. The third criteria, the third observation we generally have is what? या तो साउंड प्रोड्यूस होता है या तो फ्लेम प्रोड्यूस होता है. मैग्नीशियम रिबन व्हेन इट इज बर्न इन प्रेजेंस ऑफ ऑक्सीजन, इट बर्न्स विद अ डिजलिंग वाइट फ्लेम. चैप्टर फिजिकल केमिकल चेंज क्लास 7 में भी आता है. So this is an example of what? Combination reaction. When two different reactants reacts with each other giving single product, it is known as what? Combination reaction. So what is the condition? Single product milna chahiye, two or more than two reactants. Now here the another example comes, which is nothing but the same example as exothermic reaction. When calcium oxide reacts with high water, then it converts into what? Calcium hydroxide and lime water. So here also two reactants are reacting giving what? One product. अच्छा, ये दोनों रिएक्शन का अपना अपना ऑब्जर्वेशन है. कॉम्बिनेशन रिएक्शंस का क्या? मैग्नीशियम ऑक्साइड ग्रे कलर का पाउडर along with dazzling white flame. Calcium oxide when converts into calcium hydroxide, there is a release of heat. It is an exothermic reaction. Then what happens? There is a change in color. The another observation. ऑलरेडी वो ऊपर की दो रिएक्शन में आ ही गया थर्मल डिकम्पोजिशन में, फिर भी. So there comes a displacement reaction. When more reactive metal displaces less reactive metal from its salt solution, it is known as what? Displacement reaction. So when iron being more reactive, it is added into copper sulfate solution. So ये blue color का जो copper sulfate है वो fade हो जाता है और वो किस में कन्वर्ट हो जाता है? ग्रीन कलर में. सो देयर इज अ चेंज इन कलर. व्हाई देयर इज अ अपीयरेंस ऑफ ग्रीन कलर? बिकॉज आयरन सल्फेट इज बीइंग फॉर्म्ड एंड इट इज ग्रीन कलर. देखो ऊपर भी लिखा हुआ है आयरन सल्फेट इज व्हाट? ग्रीन कलर सॉल्ट. सो दिस is the fourth observation. The fifth observation is what? There is a formation of a new product. Certainly ये कोई भी reactions देख लो वो सबके अंदर न्यू प्रोडक्ट ही फॉर्म हो रहा है. देन एंड देन ओनली इट इज नोन एज व्हाट? अ केमिकल चेंज. बट हियर व्हेन डबल डिस्प्लेसमेंट रिएक्शन टेक्स प्लेस, there is a formation of precipitates. तो बेरियम क्लोराइड, सोडियम सल्फेट, प्रेसिपिटेट ऑफ व्हाट? बेरियम सल्फेट. अगर इसके अगर कोई क्वेश्चंस देखने हो तो प्रीवियस वीडियो है जिसके अंदर तुम क्वेश्चंस देख सकते हो. हायर ऑर्डर थिंकिंग स्किल क्वेश्चंस, कॉम्पिटेंसी बेस्ड क्वेश्चंस. कि किस पर्टिकुलर मेटल का किस पर्टिकुलर सॉल्ट जो प्रेसिपिटेट देता है एंड रेस्ट आर soluble in water. So here there is a formation of white color precipitate of barium sulfate, which also confirms what? A chemical change. Now let's go ahead. When we talk about the decomposition reaction, we have two more decomposition reactions. One is what? Electrolytic decomposition reaction, where the decomposition takes place with the help of what? Electricity. That is the definition. Basically क्या होता है? There is a source of electricity. It's a battery. It's a positive terminal, negative terminal. It is connected with two electrodes. Graphite electrodes ले सकते हो तुम. पॉजिटिव टर्मिनल वाला एनोड हो जाएगा, नेगेटिव टर्मिनल वाला कौन होता है? तुम्हारा कैथोड हो गया. एंड व्हेन यू स्विच ऑन the electricity that starts circulating in this complete circuit as well as the solution, and that brings out a chemical change. So the negative ion in water. अच्छा यहाँ पर एक क्वेश्चन आता है, water is a weak electrolyte, poor conductor of electricity. So उसको थोड़ा कंडक्टिंग बनाने के लिए क्या करना पड़ता है? मिनरल एसिड ऐड करना पड़ता है. H2SO4 के कुछ बूंदे ऐड कर दो, सो कंडक्शन और ज़्यादा अच्छी तरीके से होगा, इलेक्ट्रोलिसिस और अच्छा होगा. What happens? The anion of water, that is OH minus, that moves towards anode. The positive ion that moves toward cathode. Anode पर oxidation reaction होता है, जो product मिलेगा that is what? Dioxygen gas. कैथोड पर रिडक्शन होता है, द प्रोडक्ट विल बी व्हाट, डाइहाइड्रोजन गैस. Now there's a question which is very well known here and there, all the times it is being asked. What? Why the volume of gas which is present or which is produced at anode is half than the volume of gas produced at cathode. So hydrogen अगर 4 ml है तो डाइऑक्सीजन कितना हो जाएगा, 2 ml हो जाएगा. What is the reason? The reason is the ratio of hydrogen and oxygen in water is 2 is to 1. 2 atoms of hydrogen, 1 atom of oxygen, and that is the reason. Okay. अच्छा, electrolysis की बात करो, as a result of decomposition reaction, so you can write electrolysis of water as well as electrolysis of molten sodium chloride, which gives two products: sodium as a result of reduction and chlorine as a result of what? Oxidation. सो क्लोराइड एनायन है, वापस एनायन एनोड की ओर जाएगा, ऑक्सीडाइज होगा और प्रोडक्ट जो मिलेगा वो कौन सा होगा, Cl2. सोडियम जो है वो कैटायन है, Na+, सो कैथोड की ओर जाएगा टू गेट रिड्यूस्ड एंड इट विल कन्वर्ट इनटू व्हाट, एलिमेंटरी फॉर्म, दैट इज सोडियम. नाउ photolytic decomposition is what, when decomposition reaction takes place in the presence of sunlight, by the means of sunlight. So यहाँ पर ज़्यादातर आता है कि silver bromide salts are being used for white, black and white photography. Why? As a result of this reaction, from silver chloride Ag plus, it gets reduced to what, metallic silver, gray color, along with the evolution of what, dichloric gas. And because of these property that they are photosensitized, this silver halides, specifically bromide, is being used for what, black and white photography. So जब we click the camera, the sunlight that comes inside, और जो कैमरा जो होता है उसके अंदर जो रोल आता था पुराने ज़माने में, वो रोल के ऊपर जो कोटिंग होता था वो किसका होता था, सिल्वर ब्रोमाइड का. सो सनलाइट सीधा और लाइट सीधा किस पर जाता है, ये पर्टिकुलर कोटिंग पर जाता है, एंड देन इट गेट्स रिड्यूस. एक पर्टिकुलर एरिया आपको लाइट लगेगा, एक पर्टिकुलर एरिया आपको डार्क लगेगा. दैट्स व्हाई इट इज बीइंग यूज्ड फॉर black and white photography. Now the last topic of this chapter is what, redox reactions. अब यहाँ पर redox is nothing but what, RED, that comes from reduction reaction, and ox that comes from what, oxidation reaction. So बोलते हैं ज़्यादातर reactions जो तुम देख रहे हो तुम्हारे आसपास, it's nothing but a redox reaction. कोई ना कोई oxidize हो रहा है, कोई ना कोई reduced हो रहा है. Now oxidation and reduction can be defined on the basis of three different criteria. Either there is a removal or addition of oxygen, or removal of or addition of hydrogen, as well as with respect to electron transfer. क्या एलिमेंट में इलेक्ट्रॉन ऐड हो रहा है, क्या एलिमेंट में इलेक्ट्रॉन रिमूव हो रहा है. So I have already written that addition of oxygen is known as oxidation, removal of hydrogen is also known as oxidation. और कभी भी कोई पर्टिकुलर एलिमेंट में से इलेक्ट्रॉन अगर निकलता है तो वो रिएक्शन को भी क्या बोलते हैं, oxidation reaction. The opposite is also true, but it is reduction reaction. Addition of hydrogen, reduction. Removal of oxygen, reduction. And when chlorine gets one electron, converting it to Cl minus anion, it is also known as what? Reduction reaction. The examples are very well given in your textbook. When copper, reddish brown metal, when it is strongly heated, it converts into black color, copper oxide. And when copper oxide is treated with dihydrogen gas, it converts back into copper along with evolution of water in the form of water vapor, और पानी liquid form में हो सकता है. Now you see copper is being added with oxygen converting into copper oxide. That's why this reaction is an example of oxidation of copper. Side by side, in second reaction, when this copper oxide is treated with hydrogen, कॉपर ऑक्साइड में से ऑक्सीजन जा रहा है और वो किस में कन्वर्ट हो रहा है, कॉपर में. सो इट्स रिडक्शन ऑफ कॉपर ऑक्साइड. बट साइड बाय साइड हाइड्रोजन में क्या हो रहा है, ऑक्सीजन ऐड हो रहा है, सो वो ऑक्सीडेशन ऑफ क्या हो गया, हाइड्रोजन हो गया. नाउ द वन विच अंडरगोज रिडक्शन इज नोन एज ऑक्सीडाइजिंग एजेंट, and one which undergoes oxidation is known as what, reducing agent. So अगर ये रिएक्शन में कोई तुमको पूछे किसका रिडक्शन हो रहा है तो कॉपर ऑक्साइड का, एंड दैट्स व्हाई कॉपर ऑक्साइड इज नोन एज व्हाट, ऑक्सीडाइजिंग एजेंट. किसका ऑक्सीडेशन हो रहा है, सो हाइड्रोजन, एंड दैट्स व्हाई हाइड्रोजन इज नोन एज व्हाट, रिड्यूसिंग एजेंट. हाँ, देयर आर फ्यू एक्सेप्शंस जहाँ पर तुम क्लियरली डिफाइन नहीं कर पाते हो वेदर oxidation and reduction both are taking place simultaneously or not, and basically नहीं होता है, and these are neutralization reactions and double displacement reaction. So ये ज़्यादातर reactions ऐसे हैं जहाँ पर ना किसी का oxidation हो रहा है ना किसी का reduction हो रहा है, and that you will come to know in your class 11 when you have a special chapter named redox. So ये आज का revision हो गया, revision of chapter number 1 of class 10, chemical reactions and equations. I have not covered the balancing chemical equation. That is very easy. If you require some practice questions on balancing chemical equation, so आप लोगों को पता हो कि ना हो, मैं बता देता हूँ. Whatever you want from us to teach, to discuss, to solve, जो कुछ भी आपको अगर पूछना है केमिस्ट्री या तो इकोनॉमिक्स में, यू हैव टू जस्ट मेल योर डाउट टॉपिक questions on ecocam1301 @gmail.com. So that's all for today. See you later on. Bye bye.